Hello, I am Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, and as of right now, this very second, I am ranking and reviewing the Frank Zappa tours. Elsewhere on this channel, I have reviewed literally every album he has put out, except for a small handful of birthday bundles and stuff. So 110 reviews of albums elsewhere, but now we're on to the tours. And if you are sort of not familiar with sort of Frank's career apart from the albums or even with the albums, you can clearly define sort of where he is musically by his tours. His albums often reflected the previous tour. His tours usually contained songs that had yet to be released and would not be released until the next album. He road tested a lot of material. The members of his band changed the sound of his music. He wrote for specific members of specific bands, and they definitely shaped the course his music took. So getting into the tours, getting into live shows and bootleg tapes and all that kind of stuff, like sort of just fleshes that out and sort of confirms that, yeah, like he ended this winter tour here and then he had an entirely new band like 6 months later and it sounded like a completely different Zappa. You get a deeper sense of of what that is. And then you also sort of form opinions about which tours you like and which tours you don't like. And so that's what this list is. Ultimately, me saying to myself, if I'm going to listen to any show from any Frank band, which would I listen to first and which tour would I pick last? And that's what this is. When I first started the 110 project, which was like about a year and 3 months prior to when I'm filming now, I mocked up a list of my favorite tours thinking I might do this. I sequenced all 26 of them. So there's 26, combining the 60s. Yeah, I know that's kind of a problem, but there's a lot of 68 material, a lot of it mislabeled, and a lot of it duplicate, but with different whatever. There's not as much 69, not as much 67. So it felt like I had a firmer grasp on if I just said the 60s. So the 60s is one tour, not doing hot rats. The 70s, I'm going to combine all of 70 into one tour. 71 is a different tour. I'm going to separate the two 72 tours. 73 has 3 tours. 74 has 3 tours. Anytime a member changed or the set list changed dramatically over the course of a run of shows, I'm pretty much calling it a tour. And I think it all makes sense when you hear it. But then when I re-mocked up the list for this, did I say that I mocked up a list and I put them in order? Yeah. So when I re-mocked up the list for this, the top 10 were the same top 10, only, and this is without me looking at the other list, but in a slightly different order. And the bottom 4 were exactly in the same order were the bottom 4. But those middle ones, which is what, the middle 12, were kind of jumbled around and all over the place, just because I think there are a clear top 10 and that middle run, depending on my mood, some sound better than the others. But the bottom 4, I think, are clearly the bottom 4. But anyways, yeah, but that's it. Gonna start the first number 26 right after this. I do want to say I tried to set out a roadmap to how I was going to approach this. Wasn't successful in that. I did take notes though, so I got a whole bunch of notes on this that I'm hoping to cover. If it's too disjointed or too all over the place, please let me know and I'll try to tighten it up for the next one. And ironically, I think I have the most to say about my least favorite tour, only because it is still a good tour. Like it really is. There are just things about it that frustrate me. Frustration is the word that is going to describe this tour more than any other. But yeah, on to number 26. Thanks for watching. All right, I'm excited to start this journey. Number 26. My least favorite Zappa tour, number 26, the 1984 tour. This tour took place in 1984, July 17th through December 23rd. Approximately 125 shows. There was a US leg, a Europe leg, a US leg. Each show was about 110 minutes long, based on tape length and bootleg length. About 21 songs per show. Frank soloed about 10 times per show in a variety of different solo vehicles. These were greatly varied. I am going to run through all of them towards the end of this video. The band members that were in this tour, Frank, of course, on guitar and lead vocals. Ray White is still there. He had been around for a couple years, guitar and vocals. Bobby Martin is still there. He has been there since '81. Keyboards, vocals, saxophone, athletic wear, push-ups on stage. Very, very energetic performer. Scott Tunis on bass, Chad Wackerman on drums. They're still there since '81. Now, Ike Willis is back. He had taken '81 and '82 off. He's back on guitar and vocals. And most notably, who has left is Steve Vai, Ed Mann, and Tommy Mars. And essentially replacing the three of them is Alan Zavad. Alan Zavad is a respectable musician in his own right, has his own career, didn't really fit in with the Zappa vibe, didn't really have a personality that could dominate like Vai did, or like Duke did, or like Mars did, or like Bozio could. And it almost seemed like Frank had Zavad and Martin, who was also on keyboards, kind of trying to be Ed Mann. So a lot of their keyboard sounds were kind of percussion-y, trying to be Tommy Mars. So they had, trying to fill in all those spaces that Mars filled in. Also trying to be like a horn section. There were weird kind of horn stabs every once in a while, or like pseudo horn sounding synth sounds that weren't that pleasant. Also, Chad Wackerman's drum kit was entirely electronic during this tour. A lot of electronic hand claps, which you can hear. And those two things, I think, are my biggest problem with this tour, is the sound. The sound sounds like an 80s band, and it's kind of hard to listen to. I have a lot of albums from the 80s that I will go back and go, oh man, I used to love this album. I go back and listen to it, and it's got that sort of that gated snare sound with that weird, just loud, fake traps, with that horrible sound. We have a lot of that, plus an entirely electronic drum kit, plus horrible sounds from Zavad and Martin on the keys. It's just not that great of a sounding band. Still good performances because it's Frank. And, I still, when I listen to this, there are things I really, really enjoy, but the sound is hard to kind of take. Also, another person who was in this band was Napoleon Murphy Brock. Was in this band for, I think, less than 2 weeks at the beginning of the tour, but there were, I think, drug problems, or not showing up to work on time problems, or not remembering the lyrics to any of the songs problems. And so he was given an aisle or a window and sent home. So yeah, there were some special guests on the tour. Dweezil Zappa played guitar in a couple songs. You can hear one of these on Charlena. You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore, Volume 3. On the July 22nd show, which was in Hollywood, George Duke showed up and played, solo. During Chunga's Revenge, Bruce Fowler, Ainsley Dunbar, and Denny Wally sat in. The highlight of that by far is Bruce Fowler, reminding everybody why he is Bruce Fowler. Johnny Guitar Watson was at that July 22nd show, but he kind of forgot all the lyrics to In France and was kind of a mumbling mess. And then Archie Shepp sat in later in the tour, and you can hear his solo on You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore, Volume 4. So that's kind of the facts of the tour. And I'm going to go over the releases where you can hear this tour on the official releases. And that'll give me sort of an entrance to talk about a lot of the things I don't like about the band and a lot of things I do like about the band. So the best place where you can hear them is on Does Humor Belong in Music? This is a single CD release that is just live 84 tracks from a New York City show and early in the tour. And this kind of highlights, one, you get to hear that horrible electronic sound. Two, you get to hear some of the strengths of the band, like songs like More Trouble Every Day, Penguin in Bondage. Those were back after being gone for like 10 years. Let's Move to Cleveland is on there, a monster, just huge, epic song with that usually had really good Frank solos. There were some interesting doo-wop numbers played throughout this tour. Without a doubt, one of the strengths of this tour, probably the highlight of this tour, are the vocals. Man, they could sing. Ray could sing. Ike could sing. Bobby could sing. Frank gave them a lot of sort of like 50 doo-wops numbers. He wrote several new songs that highlighted these vocal strengths that you can hear on Stage 3, which I'm going to talk about. And you can hear some of that on Does Humor Belong in Music? Cocksucker's Ball is on here, WPLJ. So you can, I have a review of this elsewhere on the channel if you want to know more about these albums. But that was one of their highlights. And you can see that on this release. But what you can also see on this release, and the thing that I think frustrates me more than anything, is when Frank would get to a guitar solo, it was almost as if it was like a song, the first half of a song, the guitar solo was an entirely different experience, sometimes with an entirely new vamp that bore no relation whatsoever to the song. And then they went back into the end of the song in a way that sometimes bore no relation to whatever the guitar solo was doing. So the guitar solos were sometimes interesting and sometimes great, most often intriguing, but you lost all that momentum that you had going into the solo. And so just for the brain, if you're not like already listening to this song over and over and prepared for the like, not even a left turn, it's like a slam on the brakes, turn around and head the opposite direction up a hill into a tunnel type turn. Just jarring stuff that doesn't work, I think, in the context of a show. Frank would take a lot of these solos, take them out of their songs, and release them on guitar. A lot of the solos on guitar are from '84. Handful of solos on Transfusion are from '84. Those work because you don't have like, oh, we just lost all that momentum from this song. And so those work, and you see sort of the highlights of Frank's guitar playing and how he was still doing interesting stuff in '84. But he was inconsistent, and it really might be that Guitar and Transfusion have the best of the '84 solos. I know there are things out there that haven't been released, but it was frustrating. Just you never knew if this solo was going to be too short. There was a lot of just really, really short Frank solos. Not short in the sense like I said all I needed to say and you better be satisfied with that. Man, that was good. It was just short. Just short in the way like I don't know what I needed to say in the song and I never really found a groove, so I'm just going to end it here. Or I have someplace to go after the show and I'm just going to end it here. The solos were just frustratingly short. And I think the overall, as I said earlier, the word to describe this tour is frustrating. You'd have a great first half and a horrible second half. Like you'd have a run of songs in the middle that were fantastic, then a bunch of just kind of stuff on either end. So, yeah. So anyways, Does Humor Belong in Music, I think is a good example of the highs and lows of this band. Pretty good sound if you can tolerate the electronic sound. And then there was a Whipping Post, and I don't think Whipping Post was ever very good. I don't think that was a good cover, but a lot of people like it. But anyways, so Does Humor Belong in Music? They also have quite a number of songs released on Stage 3, Stage 4, and Stage 6. Stage 3, Disc 1 is almost entirely '84 stuff, and this shows you kind of a lot of the strengths of this band is their singing, which you get a lot of songs that highlight their vocals. Plus, there was a lot of secret word usage. And that is essentially where they change the lyrics to a running joke or a running theme that goes throughout the show. You can hear a lot of this on Stage 3. This one has the Hi-Ho Silver secret word, where for some reason somebody says, starts joking about Hi-Ho Silver. You get Masked Man, Lone Ranger, bunch of jokes like that. There were a lot of secret words. I wrote down as many as I could find evidence of. These were some of the secret words used over the course of the tour. And there were a lot of shows where musically the guitar solos didn't really bring it, or the set list was kind of weak. But what they did with the secret words was outright funny. An example of like a secret word is like Dynamo Hum. One of the secret words was cheese. And Frank said, I asked her if she had any cheese in there. Stuff like that. Not great rewritings of songs, but it is pretty funny and it kind of keeps you on your toes. But these are some of the secret words. Waffle, spoo, Smurfs, peanut, brown, knuckle, broccoli, Cajun, gumbo, Mr. Presley as in Elvis, Harold Farb, condos, real estate, tantrum, corn, Hi-Ho Silver, Tonto and the Lone Ranger, Prince, Purple Rain, Farmers, Cheese, Norwegian, and Ronald McDonald, among others. And the secret words, like when they were going, they saved many a show. And on Stage Volume 3, you can hear a great example of this. You also get 3 new songs, Ride My Face to Chicago, which debuted in '82, but kind of became its full form self here in '84. Really good kind of rocker upbeat number with a good Frank solo. Carol You Fool, which highlighted the sort of vocal aspects of this band. And China into Bushwalk, which usually had a guitar solo, but in the version on Stage 3, Frank runs up to Alan Zavad's keyboard riser and does a fake volcano solo, which is what Frank called Zavad solos. And those were solos where he would just kind of start off flat and then build towards this sort of orgasmic volcanic peak. climax. Predictable in that sense, and I think Frank mocked it quite a bit. Frank even introduced Alan Zavad as dickhead at one of the shows, and that became sort of a secret word for that show, so I'm not sure what their relationship was, but he didn't always have the nicest things to say about Zavad, it seemed. Volume 4 stage also has a handful of 84 stuff. Some of the stuff that shows why this band was kind of bad. The Willie the Pimp is one of the most atrocious things ever. Just sacrilegious that they did that to Willie the Pimp. But then the Volume 4 also has a lot of the doo-wop numbers at the end of the disc too, and has two of the absolute highlights of this tour, rewritings of songs from an album I'm not going to name, whose initials are T. Well, its initials are T, but we'll go with TF. I would show it to you, but I don't have it. A rewriting of Brown Moses, essentially the same Brown Moses, but a little more funkier and highlighting the vocals. And then The Evil Prince, just a great song, incredible solo. It did not always sound as good as this early in the tour. It was a lot rougher. The transition from the actual song into the solo was painful at times, but over the course of the tour, Frank kind of tweaked it and tightened it up. And so by the time we get this release, absolutely amazing. So that's on Volume 4. Volume 5 Volume 6 has more 84 stuff, kind of the bad 84 stuff. You get a completely lackluster Black Napkins. You get, you see what they did to Muffin Man, where they kind of reggae-fied it. The Camarillo Brillos just kind of almost played so quickly it's thrown away. He's So Gay is a horrible song. So you get that on Volume 6. So there's a pretty good representation of kind of the highs and lows on the stage series. And then if you want to hear Frank at his best guitar playing wise on this tour, Guitar has a bunch of 84 tracks, so does Transfusion. So yeah, it's still a good tour, even though it's my least favorite. I don't ever go back and listen to it because the sound is so horrible, and there's just a lot of songs played over and over again that frustrate me because of the transition into the solo, or just because a lot of Bobby Browns, a lot of Honey Don't You Want a Man Like Me, Keep It Greasy, Bamboozled by Love, songs I personally just don't need to hear any more of. The 5 most played songs on this tour: Penguin in Bondage, Hot Plate Heaven at the Green Hotel, More Trouble Every Day. Generally, that was a sequence of songs: More Trouble, Penguin, Hot Plate Heaven. I think Penguin got pulled a couple times and played by itself, which is why I think it appears one more time than those other two. So it got pulled once and played by itself. Let's Move to Cleveland was the 4th most frequently played song. And He's So Gay was the 5th off that horrible TF album. And I just don't think that's a good song. So what else about this? Some of the absolute lowlights: Black Napkins was just inconsistent, was not very good. The Apostrophe came back, which is kind of cool, but it did not sound. It was almost like I almost wish I hadn't heard it. And then the Oh No was Oh No. Frank reggae-fied it and did sort of a Muffin Man pseudo reggae thing to it, and just Paulie and Murphy Brock tried to sing it early on. No, not good. Some of the highlights of this tour, without a doubt: Baby Take Your Teeth Out with solos. The Brown Moses, The Evil Prince from TF were amazing. Daddy, 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 the 200 Motel song they played, that is such a great song. That had not been done for quite a while. Deathless Horsey, if you see that on a set list, almost all the Deathless Horseys hit it out of the park. Filthy Habits were consistently good. Not as epic as the 76 versions, but still really good. The 50s doo-wop, always good. On December 13th, Frank once again pulled out Sleep Dirt and did a Sleep Dirt Black Napkins hybrid for some crazy reason that's actually not that bad, and it's pretty decent. And then for the entire month of Montana, or I think for a week in Montana, might have been the entire month, Montana, for the entire month of December, Montana had a guitar solo for the first time since way, 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 way back when in the 70s. So that's neat that Frank was all of a sudden soloing again in Montana. And then without a doubt, the consistent highlight over and over and over again is Let's Move to Cleveland. These were about 15 to 20 minutes long. A Zavad Volcano solo, a Wackerman drum solo, and then Frank would play what was usually the most interesting solo of any given night. If you're looking to find shows from this and listen to this band for yourself, I would recommend finding shows from November. There are a handful of shows in November which I think are consistent from start to finish. Both shows on November 30th, the early and the late, are fantastic. If you can find those, I recommend checking those out. November 9th is good. November 10th late. November 11th, nice run of shows early November. November 24th was also very good. And so was December 6th. So I recommend starting there. That's a good chunk of run of shows if you're looking to seek out more information from this band and check them out. Other sort of interesting facts. It's an interesting band. Like, I think if Wackerman had had a real drum set and maybe Zavad's keyboard sound was a little fatter and thicker and just not as tinkly, this might jump a little higher and not be as annoying. But more interesting facts from this band. Let's Move to Cleveland was not always called Let's Move to Cleveland. In fact, it didn't even get that name until towards the end of the tour. And then when Frank released it, it officially became Let's Move to Cleveland. But it was known as Kriega Bandola or Young and Monday for most of like 81 and 82 when it first started getting played. When they get to that part at the end where they go, let's move to Cleveland, there were a lot of different things inserted in there, which I think were pretty funny. These are some of them. Kriega Bandola, Young and Monday or Mond, Roland in the Whorehouse, Where's My Vacation, Je suis, It's My Volcano, Watch Harold's Footwork, and my favorite, Don't Use Your Elbow, were some of the sort of different permutations that Let's Move to Cleveland underwent. They did a cover of Singing Winds, Crying Beasts, Santana's song at an August show, just sort of at the end of Ride My Face to Chicago. There was just a little Santana jam that was kind of sweet. Outside Nows were pretty good. Let's see, yeah. Yeah, it was not a horrible tour, but still it is my least favorite. I am now going to tell you all the songs Frank soloed in, just so you have a sense of the variety of stuff he played, and then I'm going to wrap this one up after 17 long minutes. So, these are the songs he soloed in. Vance Romance, Alien Orifice, Baby Take Your Teeth Out, short, funky, but always good. Bamboozled by Love with that Owner of a Lonely Heart vamp. Black Napkins, disappointing. Black Page number 2, you can hear that on stage 4. Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy, stage 4. Excellent song. This was a great thing that they brought back. The Advanced Romance, Carolina, which were usually coupled together. Great resurrections by Frank and decision to include back in a set list. China into Bushwop, Chunga's Revenge, City of Tiny Lights. Such an epic song. Didn't quite deliver on this tour. Cosmic Debris, Deathless Horsey, always good. Drowning Witch had one ridiculous Drowning Witch in November, but this was pretty good. I mean, such a great song. Dumb All Over, yes, with guitar solo. Easy Meat, Evil Prince, Filthy Habits, Heavy Duty Judy, Hot Plate Heaven, Illinois Anima Bandit, I'm the Slime, In France, yes, In France has a guitar solo. Let's Move to Cleveland. Lucille didn't really have a guitar solo, but Frank would play like riffs and fills through the vocals, which is the only time he was like sort of with his guitar and not actually playing a full solo. Marcuson's Chicken, which did not have the Marcuson's vamp and instead had this completely insipid, uninspired vamp in the guitar. Montana for a Week in December, More Trouble Every Day, Muffin Man, My Guitar, yes, there was a My Guitar Wants to Kill Your Mama guitar solo. I think they only played that they played that quite a bit. Still, the solo wasn't that good. NBiz, Outside Now, Penguin in Bondage, Ride My Face to Chicago, Charlena, always kind of good. That vamp in Charlena is phenomenal. Singing Winds, Crying Beast, Sleep Dirt, Stevie Spanking, Stinkfoot, Treacherous Cretins, Truck Driver's Divorce, Watermelon and Easter Egg. The Watermelon and Easter Egg, which popped up a couple times, those were always good. It's kind of hard to mess up that vamp. What's New in Baltimore? These were good versions of this song, but they just never reached. In fact, I don't think this song ever reached the version from Frank Zappa Meets the Mothers of Prevention. That one is almost like patriotic. It's like almost uplifting and anthemic. And every other version of this doesn't quite reach those heights, but these were pretty good. What's New in Baltimore's. Whipping Post, which I've never really liked. Willie the Pimp, which is an utter atrocity. And Zoodalures, which I think is always interesting. Didn't always work, but Pseudolures is one of those canvases that I'm always interested to see where Frank goes with his solo on that. So yeah, that's it. I don't really know what else to say about this other than it is my least favorite because I have a hard time dealing with that sound. I do enjoy listening to it sometimes because the secret word usage can save it. Sometimes there are good solos, but if you're going to listen to complete shows from this tour, it is just frustrating because it just seems like Frank would have half a show where the guitar solos were horrible and then the other half they were great. And it wasn't necessarily first half, second half. It was just all over the place. I do hope Zappa Family Trust releases a box set from this tour. I fear it's going to be Halloween '84. The Halloween shows were not that inspired or good. And I think that it might be worth hearing because the sound would be better. You know, most of my opinions are based on bootleg tapes where it's either audiences or, you know, fourth generation soundboards. So there's layers of hiss. But there's a lot of good sounding tapes from '84. So I do feel like I have a somewhat good idea of what it sounds like. But a November '84 box set, you can get 3, possibly 4 discs. Do it like they did with Zinni, where you take tracks from different shows and kind of mock up a set list from the Zinni 40th anniversary, and you can mock up an actual show. I would buy that. I would be excited about that. I think it would be successful. So if you're watching ZFT, a November '84 box set, just let's do it. Like a Mother's 1970. Give us a whole bunch of stuff from there, and let's just make our last opinions on this band. But anyways, that's it. The 1984 band. Let me know if this made sense, if I need to redo it, if I need to get better organized, whatever. I don't know how to approach something as massive as this. I don't think I have as much to say about other tours as I did the '84 tour, oddly enough. But yeah, it's probably my least favorite tour, but it's still a really good tour because it's Frank. Everything after this I think is better, including the next 2. Which I know are a lot of people's least favorite, but I like them a little better than I like '84. But anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know if you have opinions on this band or if you check them out, and then if you agree or disagree with me, all that stuff. Subscribe. Thank you for watching. Peace. Have a good day.